I'd now like to introduce Brian Gilligan from Arc Cinema, who's director with Melcorpo. Brian, take it away.
Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. I'm just going to talk a tiny bit, a little bit about who we are and why we invested in Peterhead and how that's worked out for us, just to give you an example from our perspective. So first off, who are we? Our company is the Melcorpo Group, and we operate a cinema chain called the Arc Cinema. We're based in Ireland, and it's a family-owned investment company owned by an Irish family called the Furlongs. We have a couple of types of activities. We are involved in commercial property investment, and that's how we got involved in the cinema business. It was through trying to reposition some of our commercial property assets. We have a financial investment business where we invest in stocks and shares and some private equity investments. And then in more recent years, we've grown a small cinema chain. We have 7 cinemas at present, and some leisure and food and beverage businesses. So we've a bowling business, and we run some restaurants, some gourmet burger restaurants, coffee shops, all that are based around our cinema businesses and are complementary to them. Cinema drives a lot of spin-off benefits for the surrounding businesses. And that's the reason we got into the cinema business ourselves in the first place, was to create spin-off benefits for our property assets. And I'm just going to use a case study of our first cinema to illustrate this a little bit. So we had a shopping centre in a town called Drogheda, which is about 30 miles north of Dublin in the Republic of Ireland. So probably has, Drogheda would have a similar relationship to Dublin as Peterhead would to Aberdeen. In terms of similar distances and regional towns. We had a shopping centre there that was struggling in 2014. Drogheda was overdeveloped during the economic and property development boom of the previous decade. There were too many shopping centres built, and there was a lot of vacancy in the town and in all of the shopping centres, including in our own. We didn't have a supermarket anchor in our shopping centre, which was the negative. But the positive was we were located right in the heart of the town and had parking. So we had an excellent location, but didn't really have a key anchor to give the shopping centre an identity that the other centres didn't have, whereas they had grocery anchors. So we built the cinema, repurposed some vacant space, and developed the Arc Cinema brand. And the purpose of doing that was to reduce the amount of vacant retail space, repurpose it, but also to stimulate further complementary uses. And they followed in time. We've been open there 6 years now, and slowly but surely, we've added on a range of different complementary uses. So the first one to follow was this Shake Dog restaurant. It was like an American-style diner. We opened a Yeah Burger restaurant, which is a gourmet burger restaurant ourselves. And we amalgamated 3 of the units to create a big kind of family dining unit. We have the Insomnia Coffee Shop, which is the bottom left photograph. That again, we run ourselves as a franchise basis. And then the Energy Gym as well. So over a period of 4 or 5 years with continued investment, we had taken what was a shopping centre that had struggled with vacancy and is now fairly vibrant with a lot of positive food and beverage, leisure, non-retail uses that have worked very, very well, and they all feed off each other. So it doesn't happen overnight, but once you start, the cinema is the catalyst that leads to the other benefits. So that was our first cinema. We'd expanded now. We have 6 trading cinema sites and another 2 being built in England at the moment that will open early next year. And we're seeking more cinema sites. So we've built a kind of standalone cinema business from originally wanting to solve a property problem to do a property vacancy. We've established ourselves in the cinema business and have been looking for pure cinema opportunities. And that's what brought us to Peterhead. So just a little bit about our experience here. How has it gone for us? We opened a 5-screen cinema at the start of October. The cinema is of a modest scale, so it's certainly smaller than anything you might find in Aberdeen, but the standards are extremely high. So we've invested in VIP seating, we've state-of-the-art laser projectors, Dolby 7.1 surround sound. So all the facilities are absolutely state-of-the-art, though the scale is a little bit smaller than what you'd find in the city. We opened in October 2020. Honestly, it's not the ideal time to be opening a cinema. If you could choose it in the middle of COVID, when a lot of cinemas were shut down, very, very few choices of all the Hollywood blockbusters had been deferred. Nonetheless, despite all of the headwinds that we had against us, we were astounded by the successful trading that we've had in Peterhead since we opened. Customers loved it. It was a really positive response, and they've turned up week in, week out. Ordinarily, when we open a cinema, we have a honeymoon period for about 2 weeks when people come to check it out, and business dies down to a normal level fairly quickly after that. With Peterhead, we've been consistently busy since the day we opened. And probably to put it in perspective, it was the busiest of our sites for the month of October. We have cinemas in towns with 4 to 5 times the population levels of Peterhead, but Peterhead outperformed them in October. And a nice little anecdote, we were the only site in Peterhead in the whole of the UK to play Dirty Dancing first weekend in November. People have been asking us to play classics, and Dirty Dancing was one of those. So we put it on the first weekend in November, and it charted at number 4 in the UK box office charts, solely on the back of the business that it did in Peterhead alone. So I suppose my point in telling these stories is to demonstrate, if you build it, they will come. There is a big audience in Peterhead. We've done amazing business since we opened, and certainly more than we anticipated. We're delighted with the level of customer we've had. I want to talk separately a little bit about our experience of developing the site. And this was a reasonably quick project. Probably didn't feel it certain days, but 18 months is pretty quick from seeing an ad for a vacant property for sale to opening a cinema after a long lockdown and a pause in proceedings because of COVID. So we bought the cinema in March 2019. It was a vacant former gala bingo hall, and in its history had previously been a cinema. So it was the type of opportunity we were looking for. Within a month, we had been confirmed grant assistance for a feasibility study. So we bought the cinema at short notice, really, and I wouldn't have ordinarily advised doing this, but we knew the opportunity was right. So we bought the building without having done our full due diligence on it, on the market. So we bought it, and then after that, did our due diligence. So we did our feasibility study, and within a month of buying the cinema, we'd received a grant to facilitate that feasibility study. It took a few months to do architectural measurements, drawings, measure the market, do all of the assessments we needed to do, and put together a plan for refurbishment and to cost that plan. So we were in a position in August 2019 to submit an application for the Property Investment Fund grant towards the capital costs of carrying out the works. That was approved in a matter of 3 months, a very significant amount of money in the grant. And we were then in a position in November, having received confirmation of the grant award, to make a final investment decision to invest in the building. We commenced works December 2019, and we're hoping to open April, May 2020. COVID scuppered those plans, and we had a delay for a number of months, or the site was shut down. But we opened as soon as we possibly could in October 2020. So I think the point here is that probably there were several stages of interaction with Aberdeenshire Council's Economic Development Team and the Property Investment Fund We got 2 pieces of assistance in 2 tranches and 2 phases, one for the feasibility study and one towards the build works. But there was absolutely no slowing down of the project as a result of applying for these. And you might anticipate that applying to a state body for assistance is not going to be a quick or easy process, but in our experience, it was extremely quick and extremely easy. So the reasons to invest in Peterhead, I think there's a couple of things here. One is the fundamentals of supply and demand are right. There's a large population in Peterhead, is circa 20,000 people. Our own catchment calculation, taking in the hinterland, doubles that. So we believe our potential customer base is something north of 40,000 people. That's a pretty significant population. There are very limited competing leisure options, and employment rates in the region are high. People work hard, and they earn a pay packet at the end of every week, and they're in a position to be able to afford to treat themselves for leisure. So when you take the low supply of competing businesses, high population with high employment rates, I think when you put those things together, that creates a commercial opportunity. Simple fundamentals of supply and demand are right. I think then when you look at the lack of barriers in combination with the supports that are available, sometimes when we try to initiate projects, there are barriers in our way. People complain, our competitors put in planning objections, try and slow us down. There's all sorts of barriers in the way. No, you can't do that, because we received none of that. The only interactions we had were positive and encouraging, absolutely zero barriers in the way. We had great support from Aberdeenshire Council and from the economic development team. The grant funding was essential to the project. The project wouldn't have been viable on its own. It would have been nearly viable, but there was a gap there. And the fact that that gap was plugged quickly with a very, very easy and transparent and efficient process made the project a runner. So we were in a position very, very quickly after initiating the project to say, okay, go with this, let's start investing our money. There was a complete absence of red tape. So the outcome for us has been, a brilliant project, great welcome from our customers. The funding helped bridge the gap. We've got a leisure anchor in the centre of the town now that should be a catalyst for further investment decisions by others. And we're in a position where we're confident now that our experience to date has been positive enough, and the levels of business we've seen give us confidence that we're going to have many, many years and decades of successful trading to come ahead of us. So, in short, we've been really warmly welcomed by the entire community. We're extremely grateful to be in business here, and we look forward to trading successfully for many years to come. Anybody that wants to contact me, my email address is there. We're determined to be part of the community. So if there are people that want to collaborate with us in terms of customer offers, if you're raising money for a charity you're involved in and want some cinema tickets for a raffle, if you want to ask us about our experience in Peterhead or investing in Peterhead, anything, please feel free to contact me.
Thank you very much, Brian. Yeah, I mean, we could listen to you for the next half hour. Really great coverage of why your company has come to Peterhead, quite illuminating the various things you've said of your experience to date. Yeah, who needs a big blockbusters when you can keep showing the 80s classics?
Yeah.
That's what I say. No, well done. Glad to see you here.